going really minimalist.
Okay, I am kind of going minimalist, and actually, he gave me a kind of a cool introduction. So, so I've been talking about Storycraft in SDK documentation for a while, and I tend to find out that I'm sort of talking over lots of people's heads when I try to present how I apply Storycraft in SDK documentation. A lot of people think of Storycraft as something that applies in marketing and not so much in technical writing. And my real point that I've been trying to make is that we as technical writers, we're technical, but we're also writers. And when I began as a technical writer, I actually jumped into a bunch of really highly technical stuff that I was not supposed to be able to do. And I got along really well with this amazing engineer who had developed this huge system at IBM. And I helped him make that system accessible to a group of people in Mainz, Germany, and in Dublin, Ireland. That was how I jumped into technical writing as a city planner. Okay, so where does city planning come in? Complex systems. Okay, so what I started to realize is, I hadn't known that I shouldn't be able to do this stuff. And I started to realize that part of the reason I could was that I had a solid grounding in Jungian theory. Well, how does that apply to technical documentation? You learn to think in symbols, okay? So my grandmother had been in the inner circle around Carl Jung, and I grew up with her books. I did not grow up with her, I grew up with her books. And each and every one of her books in the library that our family inherited had this symbol in it. That's the Ouroboros. That's a symbol of the universe, okay? So it's a snake swallowing its tail. It's both male and female. It's a pretty San Francisco kind of thing. And the Ouroboros can also be seen as a yin-yang. You take the topology of an Ouroboros, and you've got a yin-yang. If you think of the snake swallowing its tail, and the inside and the outside, and how the inside becomes the outside and the outside becomes the inside, okay? So you've got the yin-yang, okay? So I did not realize until recently that the yin-yang actually developed out of astrology, Taoist astrology, right? So I know you can't really see this very well, but I found this it's the sky, and it has the equinoxes. Sorry, I can't get into all the details of exactly how this relates to anyway, it has something to do with the ecliptics and stuff, and I have not studied astrology enough to understand, or astronomy, to understand exactly how this works, but I was really intrigued when I found this out, because I had thought and here's another yin-yang symbol. I had thought of, whoops, I went in the wrong direction. Where am I going? Oh, yeah, sorry. You turn this to the side, and because I grew up with a physicist, I had thought of the yin-yang as a sine wave. So you open it up, and you've kind of got a sine wave. And that's really intriguing, okay? Because you look at a sine wave, and you've got 1, 0, and null, if you think about it, right? So the reason I'm talking about this in terms of Storycraft is part of Storycraft is working through symbols. Just opening up your mind and thinking of things in new and different ways. So you can take symbols like the Ouroboros, the yin-yang, and some of these things, and start to see how a universe fits together. So everybody all over the world tries to find ways of describing our universe. And part of technical writing is describing a universe that exists with zeros and ones, and all kinds of permutations, all kinds of different ways of looking at things. You look at layers of networking, and you have things that are upside down and turned around from one point of view to another, right? Because the physical aspect of networking is actually the furthest removed from the end user's point of view, which is seen as the highest level of abstraction. Well, from the end user's point of view, the highest level of abstraction is not abstract, right? So you talk to a developer, and they're thinking high levels of abstraction. You talk to an end user, they're not thinking that what the developer thinks of as abstract is abstract, right? So you've got to be able to turn things around. I began really looking at how to further develop my skills as a writer in addition to understanding technology. And I got into understanding how to write a screenplay. I took courses in screenwriting. So what you see up here, story structure, you don't have to try to understand the whole thing, but look at the curve. Well, it's an angle, but it's a curve, right, mathematically. You have actually another sine wave. And you can, so you've got scene structure, you have rising tension that reaches a climax, and then the tension decreases. And you set up a rhythm, scene by scene by scene. All right. So why am I so intrigued with Storycraft in technical writing? Because we are all hardwired to learn through story. So no matter what the material is, if you're writing API documentation even, you need to provide some sort of story for people. And generally one thing that is important is like to understand something that symbolizes what a person is going to be doing. That's why symbology works in this case, okay? So we want to exercise our minds. We want to come up with new ideas. I'm not trying to give you a step-by-step guide. I'm trying to say we have all around us all kinds of examples of great stories. Let's figure out how we create stories for our developers. A tutorial that allows people to solve a problem, to help them feel like they're really cool and wonderful because they're getting it, right? You want that satisfaction, just like a mystery movie. So the hero's journey you can find in numerous books about the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is another example of a sine wave. So you've got scene structure that can be broken out, and you assemble a series of exercises, for instance, in a tutorial, just the way you would assemble a series of scenes for a movie. So watch good documentaries. Somebody has worked out an exciting way of presenting highly technical information. And it takes time. You can't always do it overnight. If you think about, if you think it's easy to write a screenplay, I'm trying. I have ideas that people have liked, that real producers have liked, but I still have not tried to sell my first screenplay. But I think that the whole exercise has been worth it because I've learned a lot about writing, and I think I've improved my writing. And here's another Ouroboros. And there you go. Now, I actually brought a picture. I didn't upload it, so I'm disappointed because I didn't realize I have I thought I was going to plug in a zip drive. So I had a picture I was going to show you of my son with a snake around his neck because when he was a kid, he had pet snakes. So it was another Ouroboros. So am I up to 5 minutes? Okay. Thank you so much.